Now they see me out the country. It's Red Bill. He's real. He came down from the clouds. Right.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, cooking the bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands, I'm riding in vans. Slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour of the underworld, popping the mentor. Land of the turtles, I'm popping a splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still manage like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, sweating the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up a breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Moorish the fashion, force was smashing, kicking the door. Waiting for force, it was blasting, whether the gassing, loving the passion.
Clouds. So now I come down into the real world from the clouds. I exist in the clouds. Now they see me out the country. It's Red Bill. He's real. He came down from the clouds. Right.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, cooking the bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands, I'm riding in vans. Slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour of the underworld, popping the mentor. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still manage like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, sweating the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Moorish the fashion, horse was smashing, kicking the door. Waiting for force, it was blasting, whether the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Protected the storm and Bentley receipts. Washing the benches, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red is the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning, flooded a brightling. The hunger was biting, biting.
Do not allow anything to take you off of your square. It's the same thing like what we see right here. Here it's cloudy, here it's misty, but it ain't gonna stay like that forever. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Are we on the air? Do you hear me? Loud and clear. Representing Know the Ledge. You are now rocking with the best. This is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pillar, in the building, in the place to be. This is Third Eye Thursdays, episode 187, The Great Fall. Yeah, niggas getting knocked out, looking up to Jake Paul. Hate y'all. Ha. Let's go to the commercials. A few words from our sponsors. Then we're gonna get back and we're gonna do the roll call. You dig? As I was learning more about myself, I decided that I wanted to look like how I was thinking. All of these things began to activate like ancestral DNA. I began to have visions and dreams. So the vision that I had was a group of us walking down the street with King Tut on our chest. Same way that we would walk 100 deep with the big horse, Ralph Lauren, the cookies, the Silk Crest, the Ski Man, the Suicide. We would rock all of these iconic polo pieces and Ralph Lauren couture. So I'm like, what if we had the same thing, but it was images and motifs of our ancestors?
Hey yo, we got it going on. I bring my together, we transform and become the Voltron. Yeah, we hit a right all our wrong. Hey yo, we got it going on.
Come in contact with the poetry book of the decade, Quality Words to Self, because it's all about quality over quantity, and every single one of us and everything has a certain quality within us that makes it and us what it is, right? So please purchase Quality Words to Self, available at Amazon, Ex Libris, and Barnes & Nobles. With all further ado, tap in.
No cap. No cap.
Healthy so you can get wealthy with True Health Love. We got everything that you need in terms of getting your body right for the fall, for the summer, just everyday wellness. We got herbal products, we got Sabi inspired meal preps, we got juice preps, and we also have our soul food takeout spot in Southern California. That's right, Alkaline Soul Food in Southern California. Come on down. It's nutritious and delicious. Get healthy so you can get wealthy. TrueHealthLove.com. Peace.
That's right. That's right. Shit. Get healthy so you could get wealthy. He ain't never lie. If you in California, y'all make sure to go and check out the good brother represent. Go and eat yourself some healthy food. Go and take it out. Take advantage of the delivery and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? And tell them the Red Pill sent you. Let's go ahead and do roll call and see who is in the building. Shout out to everybody pulling up. Shout out to all of my Patreons and whatnot. This show is being sponsored by Patreon /Red Pillar. I will put the link in the description if it's not there already. We've already had some monumental shows. Hold on. God damn it. Sound effects, please. Last night's show with Ross Ben. If there's any KT aliens in the building, you was in the building at for the Patreon class, please let everybody know how deep my brother was going in with his presentation. He did a full presentation. I will be uploading clips to the YouTube so y'all could get a taste and a glimpse of what's going on Patreon. And on Sunday, I went all the way in. I went there, class number 1 with the intro. I tied it in. I did some deep diving. And also for my Patreons, go and look in your inbox on Patreon. I gave up the quiz today. We have 12 questions for the quiz for all of the for class number 1 in this AI course that we're doing, this master course. So shout out to everybody. Yes, this is sponsored by the Patreon. And a very interesting thing is about to happen on Patreon. The whole Patreon community is beginning to shift more into a community, like it's more community based. So we're going to be making some major announcements coming up in the next 2 weeks and the next few weeks about our Patreon. But make sure y'all get over there while y'all can. It's building up. It's beautiful. It's only $5 as an entry fee to sign up, and it goes all the way up to the $99 fee, and that's VIP. I mean, you really get taken care at that tier. That's called a Citrine tier. That gives you access to all of the master classes that are taking place. We at least have 2 a month. So yeah, man. Shout out to all of my Patreons. You dig? So let's go ahead and do this roll call, man. How's my audio? We sounded good on the Mecca audio. How's my audio? I see that y'all survived October the 4th, right? With the phones and everything. Everybody was able to make it back with the warning test. Y'all didn't mutate. Nobody disappeared on us. Is everybody still here? Let's do the roll call and just make sure Nobody's city fell off of the face of the map because you niggas be mad nervous on my timeline and especially my inbox. I find it rather entertaining. It's so much chicken littles in this community. Sanford in the buildings, Nebraska in the building. And y'all, it's amusing that we still let the chicken little shit run wild. I mean, god damn it, it's free range chicken out here. You know what I'm talking about? It's this these chickens is running wild. These chickens are these roosters are coming home to motherfucking these chickens are coming home to roost. So many chicken littles scared about the goddamn sky falling down. That just goes to show you you can't be active and scared at the same time. How about that? How about every month there's always something that's supposed to destroy the planet? That's niggas that's late on a phone bill starting those rumors. That's fucking poo butts. That's people who don't wake up early starting those. Nobody wakes up 4 o'clock is talking about the world is about to end. Niggas that wake up at noon start that rumor. Okay? Know the difference. You got to know the difference. Harlem in the building. Alabama in the building. There's something called vagabond and poo butt consciousness. And you got to know the difference because it could be, it's thinly veiled because YouTube is an open source, open forum. Okay? It's general population. Okay? It went from being private school to public school. So you don't know what to expect. But shout out to Florida in the building. Shout out to Peace to Long Island. What up, Connecticut? You heard that. At Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Y'all gonna give us another movie, Alabama? We like the whole thing with the chairs in Montgomery. We need more movies coming out of Alabama, please. We're gonna order up some more Tubies and whatnot. Give us more movies, respectfully. Stone Mountain in the building. You know what I'm talking about? North Carolina in the building, Virginia in the building, Georgia in the building, Nebraska in the building. You dig? Louisiana in the building, Macon in the building. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody outside. Athens in the building. You dig? St. Petersburg, New Jerusalem is in the building. Harlem, Florida, out of all places. I didn't even turn my phone on till about 5 o'clock yesterday, and it was only because I had to show. Oh yeah, with Ross Ben. New Packington arrived. The Eagle has landed. Right? Tap in. Tap in. You know what I'm talking about? The Eagle has landed. You know what I mean? It's time to get your lungs right season. You feel me? That good sativa. But I turned my phone on only because I had something to do with Ross Ben. But in the amount of time that I had my phone turned off, look at what I was able to do. Look at how many pages. Let me show you. Where's these pages that I started out? Look at all of what I wrote. I was outside with my son and he threw a goddamn bucket of water at my book. That's another story. But look at all of the stuff that I was able to write because he wanted to play, right? We turned the electronics off and he literally was having a little league game with his baseball and whatnot. And I was having downloads upon downloads upon downloads. And I literally was sitting out there like Sealy in fucking Color Purple. Like I was in a rocking chair, my nigga, and just sipping on lemonade and writing, and the sun was beaming on me. I was getting heavy downloads. You know what I'm talking about? So kudos to whoever came up with that doomsday shit because it made me turn my modem off on the night before, not the next day. I wasn't waiting for 2 o'clock. Turn that shit off the night before. I don't sleep with the phone in the room, right? There's no electronics in the bedroom at all. I don't sleep with no phone in the room against all odds. Spirit will wake me up if I really need to be woken up. I don't sleep with no mobile fucking phone in the room, no Bluetooth in my room. Dark as possible, you know? but there's no devices. Because when you got devices, you don't even know if that dream is even yours. You don't even know if that thought is yours. You don't know if that auto suggestion was originally yours or Google's or Meta or many of the other third party people who have patents on mind control and things of that nature. Yeah, blaze up. It's Thursday, TGIF and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? We made it this far. Let's be responsible. You got paid today. Light up. You know what I'm talking about? This could be your CBD. You know what I'm saying? It could be whatever you want it to be. But this is that Gassington. That's what this is. You know? My mental health needs some type of what they call sativa medicine. There's sexy red sex tapes out there, man. I gotta smoke. You know what I'm talking about? I don't drink. Well, matter of fact, this is some honey wine. I mean, I can't. There's a sexy red sex tape out there. I had to get my fucking. I had to cure my eyes. You know what I mean? I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched 5 seconds of it, and now I have to go into therapy. You know what I mean? And I have to sedate myself, brothers and sisters. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. You feel me? I'm healing myself. I had to take a fucking pull after that one, just to bring y'all this information. The lengths that I have to go into the septic tank. You know, I'm a fucking dumpster diver when it comes to getting this information. Sometimes I gotta go into the fucking underworld. You know, but it just goes to show. Is it me, or when we start talking about these artists, they become front page news? Is it me? I don't know. Am I doing it? Let me know if it's just me, because I'll bring an artist name into the and put it on the lab table and start looking at it, because they say what you look at, you give the power to, and then that artist just starts going viral, even though maybe that artist may have went viral, but they stay in the news after that. But yeah, this is a very interesting spiral that we're going on, as we move through the calendar year of 2023, which goes down hands down as one of the most interesting, savage slash, what's the word that I'm looking for? Because savage is definitely that. This goes down as one of the most savage, supersonic, right? And satisfying. I would say satisfying. You know why? Because for a person such as myself, who has I've been on the heels, I've been on the heels of the Vatican. I've been outside doing this information. I've been in school. I've been a student of many master teachers, right? I've been under this nigga spell right here. He's the architect of a matrix that I exist within. Ego will not remove me from my station that I play, in the role that I play in the 90s, coming up in Brooklyn, coming up in New York, exporting my culture to places like Atlanta and other places, standing on tunnel era, all about the Benjamins, shiny suit, that New York shit, standing on that shit. Like this man right here, this is Sean Puffy Combs behind me. If y'all don't remember when he played the Joker on Halloween, right? That's your boy right there. That's P. Diddy. That's Brother Love. But this is him and this is the face that many people probably see when it's the last time that you see that face. We all have that hidden self. We all have that shadow self. And in the Jason month, in a night like tonight on Third Eye Thursdays, 187 and whatnot, it's only right that we take you down this dark road. So, first and foremost, my disclaimers is this for any parents that are out there. There was a an advisory sticker on the flyer, right? A parental advisory sticker on the flyer. I do Instagram lives and whatnot at nighttime. And when I do it at nighttime, I get into nighttime energy. I give it that nighttime energy. I'm in my 40s and whatnot. So I'm going to speak the way that I'm supposed to speak, right? Because I know that I'm not speaking to children. If I get booked to speak in a high school, or if I get booked to speak at a nursery school or a daycare center, then I'm well equipped to have multiple modes and whatnot to switch to the vocabulary, to speak the language that the youngsters will understand. And I promise not to traumatize your children by using profanity and being belligerent in front of them. I owe the parents, I have enough respect for parents being one that I will not do that. But what I will do on the show such as this, what I put the parental stickers on it, and what I will do when I go live and whatnot, and I'm going through my rants, or I'm just in my scorpion bag. Yeah, I'm gonna turn up a bit. You know what I mean? And tonight's show will be a little more. It won't be raunchy, but I'm just going to, express myself. That's my disclaimer. Okay. Primal energy hitting the planet this year, or rather, since 2020, when Blue Pill came to this community and raised the alarm, not just Blue Pill, of course. There were others, but I'm going to give my twin the credit where it's due, as to he was on the front line putting it all out there about the corona rising and whatnot. And he was talking about the sun activity, but he's been charting the sun even before that. But it really began to pick up in 2020. Our good brother Al Kibalon 44 has been very instrumental in also charting the sun. My other brother, KT the Arch Degree, has been very instrumental in also charting the sun. And there's others who have been playing a part by showing the people and navigating the people and being the quote unquote the lights or the lighthouse to lead our people in the right direction. You got to give them the credit. And the sun activity that began to embark upon us, and not even the summertime, I would say in the mid-spring of this year, has been a remarkable display of solar activity that has fulfilled not only biblical prophecies but also scientific prophecies. As a matter of fact, right, one of the other KTL alumni who's been waking people up and showing and proving and really deserves more flowers than I believe that he deserves an operational budget. He deserves a R&D budget, right? A research and development budget. And that's our Kibalon, because our Kibalon 44 showed the family, especially those who paid for the workshop over the years of 2022 and in 2023. He was showing you about the dielectric field, and he was talking about the solar flares, and he was giving you and showing you scientific proof that this shit was going to do what it did this year, and it's still doing it to this day. Energy that's beginning to bombard this planet, and the energy that hit this planet this summer was able to be identified in many ways, right? Many ways that you can't just pigeonhole it or generalize it or put it in a box. Of course, the power of the sun is innumerous, but one way that it began to really flourish and express itself was in the genre of what we call female pussy rap. I don't want to just pigeonhole it like that, and I don't want to just say it like that, but it began to show itself in whole culture and what we speaking of, and not just whole culture, guys, right? Because we don't want to make this one-sided. I don't want anybody to feel like they're being attacked, because no, they are not. This is a this pot of soup is a gumbo. You got female legs in here, you got man's arms, you know what I'm talking about, and it's everybody's in the pot together. With the with eggplants and peaches by 21 Savage and his cousin, right? You also have men tapping into their primal energy real heavy. It takes two to tango, and them women they not in those clubs, and they on them couches and in them strip clubs and at those parties and whatnot, and at the red light by themselves, right? There's, as much as people say that there is a problem that we're having with the genders, and that there's also a problem with the rainbow agenda, and there's a gender war. There's a lot of belly smacking in these streets, even though it may be done in much of a more primal way. But that energy, that sexual energy, that sex magic energy, that shit is still, it's expanding, it's getting greater. And I would go on a limb to say that some generations, if not almost all of them, they have an understanding today of sex magic that they did not have yesterday, before TikTok, before the gram, and before the exposures to certain things. And I'm not just talking about raunchiness, I'm talking about the understanding of it. I'm talking about the science of it, whether it's some hood science, from a city girl or a Sukiyana or a Cardi B or a Meg Thee Stallion. And hood science comes in the same way that we was getting science from hood niggas, because we was learning from killers, drug dealers, pimps, gang bangers, the lowest of the lowest of the low. They was giving us gems and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? You always got to go to the motherfucking bottom of the bottom. You got to go to the trenches. You got to go to the underbelly to get the finest, the raw, the uncut. You know what I mean? That fish scale. You feel me? You got to be willing. You got to be able to make it through the darkness of certain caves and whatnot, through the growls and the howls and all of that shit and the coldness, to get to some of the riches sometimes. However, we did receive that. We drank from that river. Keep in mind, there was just a video with Method Man on a drink club, and they asked them, Big L or Biggie. How many people saw that clip? And that clip is just that's a snapshot of a conversation that we've been having over the years with our audience and whatnot, because we want to bring you back into the time travel machine, because we got to give you context about what the world was like, right? We have to give you context about what the environment was like, because environments change weekly, yearly, monthly, decade wise. Everything changes. So when we try to paint a picture of the 90s New York, or when we try to paint a picture of the gods and the earths, the 5%ers, Method Man said he used to buy wet off of Big L, angel dust. Somebody would hear that and be like, wait a minute, why would the gods be smoking angel dust? That's crazy. I thought the gods were more purer than the Christians, because they call themselves God. And there's no way whatsoever, by cancel culture and woke standards of today, in the Dr. Sebi menu book that you are judging people against, that you would even fathom that the God bodies who are building on Allah's mathematics was on motherfucking angel dust. I'm gonna keep it a buck. When I was younger, the scene from Friday with Smokey, when he was in the pigeon coop. I hit an angel dust a blunt, not knowing that it was angel dust. I thought I was hitting a sensimania, my nigga. I might have been in the pigeon coop for 2 days. I don't know how anybody could function. Like you have functioning people smoking the wet, that boat, that angel dust. So the gods and the earths were not perfect on the standards of what you call the conscious community or what you would even call righteous these days. These were people, I tell people, when I was on Rikers Island, the dudes that was running the island in 93, it was one of their names was Fru Quan. He was a god body. He was a 5%er, but they was deadly. These was some 5%ers. They was super gangsters. They was super gangsters. Like, don't think because somebody, when they say the universal beat down and when you get ran down and they want to know if you know your lessons, these was real niggas. These was like, they made Ghostface look like he was soft. Like these was really dinosaurs back in those days. So I'm just saying that when we talk about that era, this is the era that this man comes out of. This man, though, actually changed. He gets attributed. He's so powerful in the scheme of things, right? Because everybody has a part to play in the movie. This story would be told on Netflix, and you would be like, Red Pill, that shit is the greatest story ever told. But we're gonna tell this story tonight. And to understand the importance of what it is that you're seeing and why the great fall is the great fall. And when you see the great fall, what exactly does it mean? What is it inferring to? What it is inferring to is that in this year of 2023 that I speak of, in this monumental calendar year of 2023, when this year gets looked back on or looked back upon, they're gonna be like, yo, this shit was crazy. Yeah, the 5%ers used to rock. The 5%ers would knock the police out. They were very rowdy. They was very real. You know? They was very deep too. They was moving around deep. They was tapping pockets and they was taking shit up off of you. And they was dropping the knowledge on you too. But it was no pushovers coming out of that camp right there. They wasn't trying to save you niggas. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, that's a whole story in and of itself. But and a lot, you know, they pushed that work out of town. That was a lot of the gods doing that. That's why you see that in Belly. That was them niggas on the phone. Them niggas' names was Sincere, Knowledge, and all of that. That wasn't a mistake in the casting. So when we talk about the different coasts and what and all of that, I never want to paint the picture like people like there was some angels out there. Everybody was on a low vibrational shit for this dollar. Everybody was doing whatever they had to do just to get a rep. Everybody was motherfucking living on the edge. Everybody was they was being programmed by all of the movies. Nobody is better than anybody. When I even speak about NWA, I'm not speaking about it from a personal. I wish that I could basically, you know, separate me from the person that's telling you about it because people that take it personal. Like I'm personally coming at the shit when I'm like, just let me teach though. I gotta be able to tell you what it is unbiasedly. You know what I mean? But that people don't let you, they can't receive that way. They're like, nah, there's something that you don't like the West Coast. No, I love the West Coast. I respect the West Coast. I grew up on this shit. There's nothing I could do to change that. You think I'm gonna try to change my history? I listened to NWA when you was in the crib, my nigga. I was listening to the shit, being programmed by it. I was watching Menace and Boys in the Hood being programmed by. I didn't escape that shit. I know what the program was. That's why I'm able to talk about it, because I was able to break the program. I'm not underneath that program anymore. You know what I'm talking about? So being outside the program, I know who's the architect of that program. So when it comes to the program that began to come to the East Coast and vicariously spread throughout the world, this was directly after 92, 93, when the West Coast, you had a whole run of West Coast albums, Chronic. After NWA breaks up, you get the Chronic, you get Doggy Style, and then, you know what I mean? You get basically that whole West Coast run right there, Dog Pound album and all of that shit. Then 93 comes and New York starts doing what they do. And then you get the rise of the bad boy era. Now, the rise of the bad boy era is attached. I wish I could have opened up a line for somebody. Yeah, which I was doing in your part of town, in your cities and states, because I could give you the chronological rundown of New York in those days and whatnot. And we was traveling to places like DC. So like Rare Essence, all of I seen all of that shit. You know what I mean? That was a super wave right there. Right? That was lit. Right? So Biggie comes out with Party and Bullshit in 91. Right? You got Wu-Tang popping. You got Nas popping. There is no Jay-Z right now. He's doing Hawaiian Sophie, matter of fact, with Jazzo, who you just saw on Mav Hoffa's Expert Opinion podcast. Jay-Z is rapper Supersonic, like Sonic the Hedgehog, and he's running with Jazzo. Jazzo is underneath the teachings of the Ansar Allah community, which is Dr. York. Dr. York has heavy influence in the hip-hop game because he's raising up the sophisticated savages. He's raising up the street niggas. He's raising up the niggas that got money. He's raising up people who come out of the nation and gods and earth. The York information, the Ansar Allah, the tablets and whatnot were a step above the 120s. They were, remember, we're talking no internet, no YouTube, no Google, no Wikipedia, no people, niggas didn't have encyclopedias, no phones, none of that. And if you had to get your information, you had to know your information. You had to be going to bookstores. You had to have money to buy stores. You had to be slick enough and quick enough to steal that shit. But those days, the libraries was in the minds of man. You know what I mean? There was God. There was people walking around with that information on their noggin and whatnot. But one of the ones, the living internet, the one who could be seen as the embodiment of what we see now in the internet age would be Dr. York, by way of his books, by way of his tablets, by way of his writings. He was giving up information. He was giving up information in them pamphlets that was almost akin to somebody going surfing on the web right now. He was bringing shit that people never seen before. Those pamphlets spread throughout Brooklyn, Queens, Harlem, the Bronx, through drug dealers' hands, and remember, you got Queens Supreme Team, right? Supreme Team, right? The Supreme Team, that's Kenneth Supreme and them in Queens. Those are those are all God body. You feel me? So they already got the lessons and whatnot, and the rappers are influenced by the information. So the rappers are our first teachers. We wasn't going to lectures and shit, my nigga. I mean, let's be clear. We were doing lectures with Dr. Sabi in the 80s, but that was just, our small, you know what I mean? It wasn't like Sabi wasn't doing those stadiums in those days. He was, what we were doing. That was my first exposure to like lectures, but lectures wasn't super big like that. I'm talking about Dr. York. Yeah, Dr. York, who had the Ansar Allah community before it was the Nuwabians, was feeding the streets back then. And the artists were reflecting that in their lyrics. So they had a certain frequency to them. They carried it. They were teaching us, and they was giving us swag, and they was telling us how to survive, and they was also giving us a vision of what it looked like to be a little bit rich, not even real rich, just to be nigger rich. So that's, we lived through the rappers when we was young. Right, Blue? We lived through the rappers when we were young. Keep in mind, I've got to give you the environment because this is very important. When we build out this environment, this will be built out in the future through, like, you know, real virtual sets. But when we build out the environment, we have to build out the foundation of the fantasy complex industry and how it was so layered in the minds of everybody that was participating in the culture from the time of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. We were more of a monolithic mind because we only had like 4 channels. We didn't have 100 channels. We didn't have cable. We didn't even have DVDs like that. This is the VHS era. We had NBC, CBS, we had 2 radio stations, WBLS and KISS. We didn't have satellite radio. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all of the options that people have now to fracture them. It's called the long tail. It has its pros and it has its cons. The pros of the groupthink, of the original groupthink. Keep in mind, this is the hive mind of the 5 boroughs in New York City. Once again, I'm not set tripping. I don't want nobody to take any offense on it. But if you were telling the story about where something started in your part of town, then you have the right to talk about your part of town, because people get, oh my God. No, anyway, the hive mind, mostly in New York, this is a hive mind. Okay. It expanded across when the cable adapted to it. I'm talking early video music box days, though, right? When it was in a petri dish, when it was in a culture, it was being cultured. The environment of New York when it was being cultured is this. We all watch the same cartoons. There's 5 pillars. There's a definitive 5 that we had, right? And the rest of them are subcategories. But there was a major 5 cartoons that we all grew up on. When you listen to Wu-Tang rhymes, because all of the early rappers rapped about cartoons. They rapped about cartoons, and then they started rapping about comics, and then they started rapping about the kung fu shit. That's where the Wu catches on. But even before them, they was rapping about the cartoons because we all watched the after school cartoons and definitely Saturday cartoons. Yes, Super Friends and Fat Albert started it out, but it was Thundercats, it was He-Man, Masters of the Universe, right? It was Voltron. It was G.I. Joe. Okay. Now, who could remember the last one? This is the Trinity. Not the Trinity. This is the 5 pillars, though. And I could break down how each one of those quote unquote cartoons fashion the minds of every single one of us in New York who went on to create classics, who went on to create all kind of stuff. Yes, Transformers, more than meets the eyes, right? So in Transformers, you get Autobots, Decepticons. We became gangs in New York. Autobots and Decepticons. That's our versions of Bloods and Crips. Autobots and Decepticons. But it wasn't like gang banging. It was posses, and it was gang culture, right? But we ran with the Autobots, Decepticons. When you go and do the science on Transformers, you still learning from it. G.I. Joe, the good Cobra Commander, Destro, Baroness, right? The fucking anti-heroes. They was hitting licks. Mindbender, Serpentor, when they take it, Dr. Mindbender, when he was putting people under mind control, right? Dr. Destro, when he was the weapons dealer and whatnot. And the Baroness, she was a rich Becky who was funding the operations and whatnot. She was a gilf with bread. Like, this is all of our foundations, right? We was rooting for them, but then we fucked with Hawk and Duke and all of the good guys on the good side. But we was like, nah, we more like Destro and Cobra Commander. Then you got Voltron. It's 5 lions, right? And they all represent different parts of the body. When we would watch that, we was like, yes, we're going to make sure that we form Voltron. So it showed us teamwork. It showed us teamwork make the dream work. It showed up if we had an enemy, we would come together and crush that enemy if we couldn't get to that enemy at once. That's what started making us want to say, you know what? I want to gang and whatnot. I want to get on my gang shit. And then Voltron was taking us into our galactical minds because Voltron is in the cosmos. That's in the galaxy. Them niggas was out of space fighting. And there was something inside of us that was like, that's us, and that's always been us. Then you got Thundercats. That was the shit right there. Mumra is in a motherfucking pyramid. And then you have, once again, tribe. You have the family. You got the crew. They coming together and they smashing shit. Right? And G.I. Joe. We can't even get it. So G.I. Joe got us into the hammers and whatnot. G.I. Joe had us like, yeah, our toys had Uzis, so we needed Uzis now. We went to war after we started dealing with the G.I. Joes. You feel me? We went to war after we started doing with the Voltron, and you know what I mean? And then, of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, DuckTales, all of that Looney Tune shit. You feel me? We have a very rich, there's no richer history than the one. Let's not even mention the X-Men. There's no richer history. After the cartoons, we got into the comic books. I'm talking X-Men. I'm talking Batman. I'm talking Superman. I'm talking Spider-Man. I'm talking those cartoons. I'm talking Dark Horse. I'm talking Image Comics. I'm talking X-Force, X-Factor. I'm talking Lobo. I'm talking Punisher, Flash, my dude, Daredevil. And then from there, we went into video games. Everybody went into it the same way, right? Remember, we were not broken up. We were not split up. We were all experiencing some of the same things together. When we was in the arcades, we were all playing the same fucking games. Pac-Man first. You would come in and you would see these high scores and whatnot. You was going up against a lot of people. Right? We were going up against a lot of people. It was a very, very interesting thing. You know what I'm saying? We had Smurfs. They eating mushrooms and whatnot. They in Mushroom Village being chased by Gargamel. Huh? Then we started playing Nintendo. Then we got into Zelda. Then we got into Rygar. You feel me? Then we got into Mega Man. Then we got into Castlevania. Then we got into Duck Hunt, Excitebike, Double Dribble, Tecmo. That led us into Madden. Now our children's children are playing the same games that we were programmed to lock in on. That's crazy. The spell is started back then. It's never been broken. So I'm painting this picture to show you coming out of New York, right? Because remember, New Yorkers spread out. Every city that I'm speaking to that I probably named in a roll call, there's somebody from New York, from my generation, that went out there and started planting pods and seeds and whatnot of this culture. This culture that I'm speaking of, they got seeded in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I was there during the seeding of that culture. This culture has affected popular culture, global culture to this day, where the culture that's popping to this day and the culture that's at top is still mimicking that culture. And if there's one vulture, and no disrespect, but I say that in a way that vultures eat off of carcasses, vultures eat off of quote unquote dead energy. As a dark Scorpio, you have vulture energy. So the top vulture that I would say for that era in the culture is Mr. Love himself. You know, the one that always can recreate itself. That's what Scorpios do, right? They always transform and recreate themselves. So that vulture who, you know, is in the dark side, unfortunate of a dark culture, would be this man right behind me. This culture that comes out of the tunnel era. This culture that comes out of New York City in the 90s that spreads into Atlanta and goes all around the world, and what this culture that the bad boy era is responsible for enacting. This culture that the tunnel era is responsible for enacting. This culture that was all about the Benjamin shiny suits. This culture, this crash capitalism, this culture that's dealing with Romanistic values, right? When in Rome, not Carthaginian shit. Tupac was more of the Carthaginian. He was fighting against. He said, "Don't let the shit go into the realms of where Puff is bringing it. Don't allow this shit to lose its soul and go into this commercialism, this materialism." That's what all about the Benjamin's era is. That's what he represents. That's what the shiny suit era is. The metrosexual. The shiny suit era is when it became about all of your looks, like Dr. Phil Valentine said. The minute niggas started to fight because you stepped on their construction boots that they supposed to be doing construction work in, that's when you knew the motherfuckers have crossed that threshold when they're not being in their proper persona. Metrosexual shit has killed hip hop. It has killed culture. It has killed the rules. It has wiped a lot of shit out. The all about the Benjamin materialism has killed the spiritualism. It has killed the consciousness. We saw what it did to consciousness when that energy came through consciousness. It has destroyed many temples and crushed many pillars and whatnot that haven't been healed as of yet. When this whole shit went into materialism, going wow, and y'all caught on into the worm that my dude, you know what I'm talking about, right? Freaky Cuz, you know what I'm talking about? The worm that Freaky Cuz was dangling and whatnot. And when they shifted the consciousness into a materialistic first mentality, you see where it has taken this whole collective as a whole. There's a laundry list of people who came before you, commercialized and basically bought out, right? And compromised, right? With price tags on them. And they try to get you to buy into shit like that. And now look at them. We know that spirit is not a benevolent spirit. We know that if that spirit was going to help anybody, those people would have been helped by now. So we know what crash capitalism did to the minds of generations upon generations upon generations. We know what the loss of Tupac Amaru Shakur has done upon generations upon generations upon generations. We know what the premature loss of our good brother Christopher Wallace has even done upon generations upon generations upon generations, because we always say it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at, and it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. I could really just imagine where an artist such as Biggie would have been in about, in the year 2000, and Pac as well. So when you take away something that is so quote unquote giving and has so much potential and probability to it, and you try to replace it with what you have to offer, that's when you see there is going to be a tear in the time-space continuum. Because imagine if we live in a what-if world, if we had to just switch around the two people and make them switch places just to see what the world would be today. That's how you can measure things sometimes. After Pac and Big were taken out of their throne, it's almost as if the kingdom was ripe for invasion. If you think about it in terms of hip hop being a kingdom, right? Hip hop being a kingdom, Kings County, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, and Big and Pac being kings, right? And when these men fell, when these twin towers fell, it was almost akin to anybody that lives in New York. You could co-sign what I mean by this. that when the Twin Tower buildings fell, all of a sudden people rushed into the kingdom. Now there were foreigners in New York. There were outsiders in New York. It dropped the gates and caved the walls in. There were outsiders running through the city when you never saw that before. There were people setting up shop in New York that was not allowed to set up shop when them two pillars were standing very tall and whatnot before the breach. We know that there's a before 9/11 and an after 9/11 New York City. We know that after Tupac died, Master P popped up on the back of the source cover with the West Side that was glittered up. I never heard about him before that. That was the replacement. If anybody was alive and you remember and whatnot, thank you. I didn't say it. I don't know who the verbal abuser is. He just put that there. Master P and C Murder became Pac impersonators. That's facts. That is a fact. I need my fact checkers. Somebody wake Zuckerberg up and tell him to send somebody over here because, nigga, that's a fact. Clearly, ask anybody from my age group that you know. Say, yo, after Pac died, was Master P on the back cover of the Source? Because remember, no internet. The Source magazine is the internet. The Vibe magazine is the internet. The Double XL magazine is the internet. And we had to wait 1 month for each copy. He was in a graveyard with an iced out fucking Michael Jackson glove, bro. This nigga had, and you know, he had that middle of the mall jewelry, so it wasn't even really iced out. This wasn't early pen and pixel graphic days. So that shit was like really like a church glove or something. And we was like, who's Master P? We thought that came out of the Machiavelli castle. You know what I'm talking about? Master P, after he was calling himself Machiavelli, we didn't understand what was going on. I'm just giving you the perspective. We didn't get the Master P creation myth prior to that. We found out about his creation story later on after he became lit. But this is literally 90. Pac dies in 96. This like 97. And then he gets lit later. He gets lit during that year. And then Ja Rule comes out as a clone. Right. They rolled Ja Rule out as a super clone. Like, what the fuck? He's a mini clone. He was 3D printed. You feel me? I remember that. All of these clones, but they never rolled out no bald-headed nigga with tattoos talking about fight the power. That's the only part of Tupac they didn't clone. You feel me? They was like, we gonna leave that clone alone. Right? No clone alone. Not Home Alone, but clone alone. They was like, yeah, leave the Black Panther part out. We're not gonna clone that part. You know, not that part. So we've arrived at the juncture in the road where, you know, we've gotten to that part in the movie. Because in the movie, there's always the plot twist, right? So we've arrived at that place in the movie where the plots have twisted. Okay. And we now find ourselves in that part of the Tyler Perry production where niggas be like, stop playing. No, he didn't. We in that part of the movie with Shamal Moore, you know, starts getting in his bag. You know what I'm saying? When they do the Lifetime television story, and the nigga who's gonna play Puffy when Christian Cole when they got Christian Combs on Tubi doing the Puff story. Yeah, this is that fucking bump of the road, my niggas. This is that turn that I'm talking about. This is the plot twist. Who'd have fucking thought in the year 20, take that. Who'd have thought in the year 23, while on the Diego campaign, while on the motherfucking while on the goddamn deuce, what's that? Oh, there is no more Ciroc, right? Post Ciroc. Who would have thought in 2023, post Ciroc boy, you know what I mean? Multi-billionaire, multi-billionaire, the succeeder of Kanye West's fucking fortune, right? You know what I mean? Who would have thought who would have thought post Ciroc, right? Post off the grid, right? My nigga Post off the grid because he's officially off the grid, my niggas. If you go to fucking Apple Music and if you look for him, the nigga album says off the grid. So, if there was an artist who was prophetic, he is him. He is him. If there was ever an artist who communicated through his music, he is him, young Sean Combs. But I never had on my bingo card that post Ciroc, post Diego Puffy would be embroiled in a Tupac murder investigation that got opened up, right? Because of another nigga who can't help but to, chase behind Charleston White and try to get podcast of the year. I mean, this nigga's clocking in a lot of hours on them podcast tours, bro. I know them podcasts be paying, but Keefy D was running up some motherfucking, he was trying to run up some money. I think he was trying to buy Tubi or something because he was out there talking like a motherfucker who, for anybody who could provide a bucket of some in and out, I mean, he was giving Chick-fil-A. Keefy D is giving Chick-fil-A. He was giving out interviews for anybody that has some Chick-fil-A, and some merchandise. He see Charleston White cleaning up. That nigga went on a motherfucking tour. He said, nigga, I got salacious information. You know what I mean? I'm going to squeeze the juice out of this California orange. You know what I'm talking about? Keefy D was trying to land a reality show. You know what I'm talking about? The 4th season of Who Killed Tupac. So, legend has it that there's an undeniable connection that you can make not only to the court of law, but to people's court, and even to people like Ray Charles and Stephen motherfucking Wonder. That this man, Keefy D, is tied in so many ways to Sean Combs that is past coincidence. It don't make no sense. I mean, I'm surprised Puffy wasn't in one of this nigga's videos talking about take that. But let's go. When you want to know about what kind of person we dealing with, right? I got to keep in mind and preface that this man is a Scorpion, a sign that I share along with my brother Blue Pillar, right? Sean Puffy Combs is a November Scorpio at that, right? There's a part of him that the public gets to see, and there's definitely a part of him that the public doesn't get to see. Similar that there's a part of you that the public gets to see, and then there's a part of you that the public doesn't get to see, and then there's a part of you that nobody gets to see. We all have these traits. So this is not about highlighting what somebody else has and not acknowledge what you have, right? So we're good on that. But one thing we don't know is behind closed doors how this man is. So this man's security guard, who's right next to him, he gets to see his private face. He gets to see what he does when the cameras is off. He gets to see how this man moves when y'all not looking. He was like, this nigga's so foul. He was about to have Tupac's fiance, Khadida Jones, drink his urine at an event because he peed in the cup or peed in the bottle or something. And then the sister came and sat down to talk to him, I think about Tupac's murder or something of that degree. And she was about to take a sip. She was there when he got killed in Vegas, might I add. This is how rituals work, right? This is how spell casting continues when you tie people up, having her drink his urine. Why would the security guard make something like that up? So I'm just giving you some insight as to what people are when people ain't looking. This is allegedly. This is not what this is allegedly. This is what his security guard, Gene, alleged. Right? So this individual, like I said, there was a falling out between these three, Puffy, Big, and Pac. But before there was a falling out between Big and Pac, there was a falling out between Puff and Suge, right? So I'm going to read an article from 2013, okay, that basically explain who this man Von Zip is, right? I used to live in Harlem. When I moved to Harlem, I moved to 129th Street in 2007, approximately one block over, just one, was a nightclub that was owned by this man Von Zip, right? Who is a very influential gangster, not a gangbanger. Okay, he was groomed by Bumpy Johnson. Okay, so this man was picked and chosen and groomed, similar to how gangsters all around the world are, right? And he is the bridge. He is the quote unquote bridge to East Coast bad boy activities and West Coast Crip activities because of his background, his name, his face card, you know what I mean? And the fact that he's one of those New York legends who could go, who set up shop on Tri-Coast, Bi-Coast, many other places. Because it's not where you from, right? It's where you at. So here's the story right here. No disrespect. All right, it says Zip died August 27th, 2012, right? Zip died on August 27th, 2012. So the title of this is Eric Von Zip Martin, the last link connecting Puffy to Pac's assassination passes away, by Jackie Jasper. This is written in February the 23rd, 2013. So it just gives you some insight as to how long people have been talking about situations that are being spoken of at a global level now. This is not nationwide. This is not regional. It's not a rumor. It's a global conversation. I saw articles translated in Mandarin about Puffy involved in Tupac's murder. This is a global story. This is a story that people are waiting for a culmination to. So something that started all the way back then is beginning to brew. It has brewed, it has spilled, and is about to spill over. So we're just reporting it from a perspective of the news. We've been highlighting this situation and this story over the years. And we've also been talking about Tupac recently. So it feels good to know that Tupac back, because his spirit is welcome in this reality. Okay, so he's the last dude connecting Puffy to Pac's assassination. Zip died August 27, 2012. No disrespect to Chris Lighty, but everybody who's anybody in rap knew Zip. Big Pac, Puff, Jimmy Henchman, Bumpy, Barry Hankerson, Frank, Janice, Melvin, Jekyll, Wolf, Buck, and Big L. Global Music Corporations, too. In death as in life, Zip made his exit in style, an impeccable suit, an ornate casket, a horse-drawn carriage, leading a star-studded procession up and down the streets of Harlem to Benta's funeral home, with Little Kim and Cameron among the celebrities gathered for the wake. Many wondered whether Zip's favorite nephew would show, that bad boy CEO of many names, Sean John Combs, Puff, Puff Daddy, Diddy, I Am Diddy, Swag, chairman of the board, and who recently started referring to himself as, get it, Barack Obama. Back in the day, Puff and Zip were tight, logging long days at Bad Boy and longer nights at Diddy's house. Although Diddy had not seen Zip in ages, he blew in to pay tribute to his uncle and said a few words in honor of the magnanimous OG who literally saved his life. Not only was Zip the godfather of Biggie's son, he was a Harlem music aficionado who owned a nightclub on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, Zip Code. While his contributions to Bad Boy are unclear, he co-executive produced records with Puff's close friend, SAR Management Chief Jimmy Henchman, and Blackground boss Barry Hankerson, including the soundtrack for Exit Wounds, a film that starred Steven Seagal and DMX. Barry is Aaliyah's uncle too. Following in the footsteps of his mentor, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, Zip semi-ruled Harlem's underworld on and off for decades. He knew every OG on the East Coast and practically every new kid on the block across the nation. Zip drove a bulletproof Mercedes, operated offices on both coasts, and moved effortlessly in and out of both entertainment and underworld circles. In fact, it was Zip who introduced Puff to the Southside Crips, a formidable street gang based in Compton, California, with whom Zip had operated a profitable pharmaceutical business for nearly a decade. A fortuitous introduction indeed. Now keep in mind, y'all, once again, Zip is the plug. The gang are the workers. They're also the muscle. So we just have to establish the relationship, right? The Crips came to the rescue when bad blood broke out between Bad Boy Entertainment and Death Row Records, where Suge Knight employed Compton Blood Gang members as bodyguards. Crips and Bloods have long been mortal enemies and warring factions. The Crips say Zip worked out a deal with Puff for the gang to guard Bad Boy whenever they travel west. The shot caller of the gang has intimated that the arrangement commenced in Anaheim following a 1995 Jodeci concert. Bad Boy partied with the Crips in Vegas, the gang says, after Mike Tyson's 1995 prize fight with Peter McNeely. Members of the gang attended West Coast recording sessions, and according to the Crips, Zip brought Big into Compton that year to check out South Park. An argument erupted in March 1996 backstage at the Soul Train Awards. Crip gang members drew guns to defend Big and Bad Boy against Pac and his Death Row Blood bodyguards. A fierce standoff ensued, but no shots were fired. Right? They got footage about that, and that gets brought up a lot. The Compton Police Department, LAPD, Las Vegas Police, and FBI conducted an early morning raid in Compton in October 1996, locking up dozens of Crip and Blood gang members. According to the search warrant, the cops were trying to quell a gang war sparked by Pac's murder. Some of the Crips arrested in that sweep, the cops alleged, had provided protection for Bad Boy. According to Murder Rap, a book published last year by ex-LAPD detective Greg Kading, a Crip shot caller said Puffy ordered to pay the gang $1 million for the murders of Suge and Pop. Puff allegedly ordered the hit after dinner at Greenblatt's Deli on Sunset Boulevard, according to LAPD records. The Crip shot Pac September the 7th in a drive-by about a block from the Vegas Strip, following a Mike Tyson-Bruce Seldon championship bout. He died 9/13. 6 months later, Biggie was gunned down in an identical drive-by outside the Peterson Automotive Museum, about a block from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Several witnesses inside the Peterson party told police they saw Southside shot caller approach Puff and ask if he needed security, after which they saw him approach Little C's and ask the same question. Witnesses then saw the shot caller approach Biggie, who told his bodyguard to let him through. He's cool, I know him, Big said. The two spoke briefly. Moments after leaving the party, Big was murdered. Okay. Hold on. Zip was at both crime scenes. I repeat, Zip was at both crime scenes. Right? This man has the luck of the draw. He's at the crime scene of two legends, two icons, two titans, right? Both at the crime scene of their murder, conspicuously. He was with Foxy Brown at the MGM when Pac got lit up. And he was with Keyshawn Johnson on Fairfax Avenue before Big wound up in the morgue. Now, that doesn't put him any place because legend, street gangsters such as himself were at all of the big events. And these two murders occurred at two big events. The quote unquote Vibe Award, the Vibe Party, and also at the Tyson fight. So this is where you find people of his ilk. So that doesn't make it seem that he set it up, but he does have that's shoot. Play with all that luck, you should be at the crap table. Those are facts you won't find on Sean Combs' Wikipedia page. Zip is mentioned nowhere. He's not the only omission. The almost Forbes billionaire photoshops out every undesirable who helped pave his way to fame and fortune, no matter how important a role they played. Unlike you and me, Diddy need not be defined by pesky, inconvenient facts. In the tradition of a cheesy bad boy repackage, Diddy remixes his past to remove socially unacceptable figures as Uncle Zip, as well as recently convicted crack kingpin James Roseman, aka Jimmy Henchman, a longtime friend and business associate. Diddy history deletes any reference to his former best friend, murdered felon Anthony Wolf Jones, and incarcerated elementary school buddies and business partners Corey Buck Jacobs and Kenneth Big L Kemp, as well as Black Mafia family drug lord Demetrius Big Meech Flannery. In Diddy history, many ex-friends, like many bad boy artists, simply do not exist. Zip was very much alive the day he called me 15 years ago out of the blue after I wrote his name in an article about Big Stall LAPD murder probe. He didn't like the piece and he let me know. Zip and I first met in 2000 on a brisk winter evening in Manhattan. I offered to buy him a drink at the King Cole, my favorite bar. As I waited for him to arrive, my cell rang. Zip asked if I could meet him out in front of the St. Regis instead. Second I walked through the door, a tricked out Escalade rolled up with Zip behind the wheel, decked out in a plush full-length mink coat and a matching pork pie hat. The passenger window rolled down. Zip signaled for me to jump in. We drove around Manhattan, talking through our misunderstandings, listening to music, discussing art, crime, and the quality of California hemp. Zip stopped at a liquor store, brought some provisions, and kept driving. An hour later, he dropped me back in the St. Regis. We shook hands and he drove off down 55th Street. Over the next 10 years, I took the A train up to Harlem every time I traveled east. One evening at Zip Code over Scotch, Zip bitterly complained about how Puff had stabbed him in the back for no apparent reason, just abandoned him. Look, you come all the way from California, 3,000 miles. You make a point to stop by and come and see me, Zip said. Puffy has never set foot in his club. Zip's health deteriorated swiftly. He spent years in and out of the hospital battling cancer. Plus, he suffered incapacitating bouts of severe back pain following a serious car accident in which he was rear-ended. Last week, artists, ops, cops, and criminals across the nation were abuzz about Zip's passing. One infamous wise ex-colleague summed up the situation succinctly. His secrets die with him. Okay. For the record, I sent Combs a dozen questions on Friday regarding Zip and their long-standing relationship. In the story I was writing on Monday, his spokeswoman, vice president of DKC Public Relations, informed me that Sean Combs was not available for comment. So, once again, his bodyguard, right, is a character witness who, if he were defaming him, because this is something that you can't say that Diddy is not aware of. He's aware of, this security guard, basically outing him, Gene Deal. There's no cease and desist. There's no lawsuit. So, it makes one think, not to believe every single thing, but I'm like, why would dude be going in like that if he doesn't have any validity? So Gene Deal gives you a proper breakdown about who this man is. And he also gives you some insight into the murder of Big on that night. Okay. And in the case of Keefe D, once again, going back to what I said on Brother Richard's channel, we don't know if that story that he's going to with on Vlad is the proper story. Okay. We do not know that. We do not know that. But what we do know is that this investigation and this story in this case is going to reveal more than what was revealed before. What we do know is there is definitely going to be some bombshells that's going to come out of this Pandora's box that I feel has been opened up. What we do know is that even though there's only a one count indictment and this case is very weak and whatnot, the right culprits will be named. The right culprits. And I don't wish for the downfall of a P. Diddy and whatnot. I want to see LAPD. I want to see the police who are behind these murders to be brought to justice. I want that to happen. I want to see the hand that's behind the scenes working a lot of these things do what needs to be done. But if this man right here has anything to do with the death of this man right here, then at the end of the day, I lose all respect whatsoever for that man. He's a coward. You feel me? And he discredits everything that he's done. And all of the robbing that he's done to his artists, all of the misfortune, all of the bad karma that people around him have experienced, if he's one of the people that are responsible for taking the life of Tupac Amaru Shakur out of jealousy and out of fear and whatnot, and out of the fact that he couldn't do it himself, then it doesn't come to no surprise why everything around him began to quote unquote be cursed. And there will be no indication that that curse is not going to continue to afflict them. Because keep in mind, they have taken things away from him that he claims to he loves. You know, misfortune has followed this man ever since that fateful night. You know, if you humbly ask me, because they'll give you everything and take it all away from you. You know, so it remains to be seen. But what I do know is this is the architect. We don't have to speculate, and I don't have to take sides. I was there. This man comes out of Clive Davis, Andre Harrell, but it's really Clive Davis that you zero in on from Arista. That would be the quote unquote the tentacle that's attached to the agenda or attached to the quote unquote operation, because Clive Davis is CIA all the way. Okay. He was the one that took the white paper that they put together on how to infiltrate black music, and they basically they deputized him. He was the one that took it and ran with it. So he winds up with Bad Boy Music, and he gives this man a budget, and with that budget and with the backing of the power of Arista and a Clive Davis, you know, basically he takes over the radio. And his sound, which was a very fire sound. I'm never gonna stun on the sound. The sound was it shifted the culture. Shifted the culture. You know, it shifted the culture. It was corporate America's and the shareholders, right? The shareholders, you know, who began to see, if we fund a certain part of hip hop, starting for what was going on in Hollywood. And shout out to Brother Obar. I want to invite Brother Obar to come on this show and break down some of the information. He did a live on Instagram. He was bodying that shit, you know what I'm talking about? And he was talking about how everybody in LA got a SAG card. You know, a lot of those people are Screen Actor Guild employees. They got to have a SAG card. These are actors. So the commercialization of hip hop commences underneath the watch of Sean Puffy Combs, who is pushed to the front to be the successor, you know, of the Def Jam era and whatnot. And his marquee artist is Biggie Smalls. His marquee artist is Christopher Wallace. And what they bring forth is the quote unquote tunnel era. Bad Boy era is tied into the tunnel era. And what that is, in so many words in a nutshell, is that it makes hip hop a club culture. It was already a club culture. It was already in the clubs, but the Bad Boy in the tunnel era made it a 7-night club culture. 7 days of the night club culture. Whatchamacallit? A floss culture, a celebrate life culture. And that's when wealth, and that's when riches, and that's when materialism began to multiply magically We cannot put him on a cross. That's not what we're doing. We're identifying architects. You don't have to crucify, degrade, diminish, or quote unquote mystify anybody's role. P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, white hair architect in the Matrix. He built this paradigm. This is coming from his quote unquote, not just him personally, of course, but he's the archetype. He's the architect. If there is another architect, please let me know. We're talking 92. We're talking 93. Remember, New Jack Swing, the tail end of the New Jack Swing. He brings in that sound with Jodeci. He brings in that sound with Mary J. He turns the R&B shit into a party, into more club music, into more of a quote unquote turn up, right? Then he starts putting his artists on a remix. He puts Big on a remix with Mary J. When he talking about skeeting with all of the, just give me all the chicken. The shit where he talking about having sex with all of the R&B chicks and whatnot, and then he starts popping. Craig Mack, they come out with Big Mac, right? Then Biggie drops the album. Then Biggie does all of those remix, and the tunnel takes off, and the rest is history. And he's also doing homecomings. They crushing the clubs. They just turned up club culture. And that's the time when people was getting street money and whatnot. So it all worked hand in hand. The rest is history. This whole shit turned into a big party with Big said party and bullshit. That's the era that was started. Party and bullshit. Total, can't you see? Right? Remember the remix with Biggie. Biggie got his name with the R&B remixes. So did Jay-Z. Jay-Z did the fucking Christian remix. Jay-Z did the shit You Shy. Jay-Z did, and then he did the shit with Foxy. He had to put a lot of work in for the females. Same thing with Big. Big had to put a lot of community service hours in. Puffy understood that as a Scorpio. He knew where to aim. He knew where to aim his quote unquote his directives. He knew who to appeal to. If there's anything genius about this man that he understands, you feel me, is the fact that he utilizes his Scorpio to zero in on that principle of the divine feminine, and he feeds them like Drake knows how to zero in and feed them too. And that's how he was able to get his success. Remember, he always had his mama with him. That's how he was able to level up. He did that shit through the energy of the Scorpio, right? Through his lower chakra, through his sacral, through his red, right? You know what I'm saying? It was primal with him, but he definitely felt he built on that feminine energy. You know what I mean? And it just so happens to be that the rumors on him is that he's wild feminine too. You know, or he's a switcher, he's switch hitter. And that was also an energy that became wild dominant. So that cross around his neck, right? Keep in mind, like I say, the earlier 90s, if you put the early 90s with the Wu-Tang and whatnot, if you measure up what was coming out of Queens when Nori was still God body and whatnot, when they was spitting lessons in between their rhymes, they wasn't doing Jesus piece. When Nas said that he went to hell with snuffing Jesus, that wasn't just because it rhymed and whatnot. That was coming from the teachings of what they was learning from both the God bodies and Malachi Z. York. The younger generation, remember Nas was like 16 back then. They had knowledge of self at around 12. They had knowledge of self around 12. People wasn't running around talking about white Jesus, bro, at all. They wasn't doing that. They wasn't doing that. Pac got away with the cross on his back because he didn't have no white man on it. They wasn't doing that. Up until like 92, bro, 91, 92, they was identifying clearly and blatantly, not speculatively. Not where you got to be like, oh, is somewhere in a 7 on his medallion? Well, I think that means that he knows. No, back then they were like, nigga, I know. Father Allah had said lesson 23, or you know what I mean? Like they were breaking it down. They were calling themselves God. They was moving on some God body shit, right? They were intertwining information and knowledge and jewelry, gems, right? It was interwoven into the lyrics, poetry. They were rocking African medallions, right? That's the 91, 90. Ask your peoples, 89, African medallions, X medallions with Malcolm X, my nigga, not crosses, not Jesus heads. This is what he brings. He is an archetype for that. Okay. So it went from the 5 to the 6. He's the archetype for this. He's the Roman. When in Rome, there's nothing more Romanistic than this nigga right here. He's Hellenistic and he's Romanistic, and it became more Roman the further that he went inside of Roman's kingdom. The more deeper he went inside of their halls and whatnot, is the more Roman that he becomes. And now on the other side of it, when you look into his eyes, when he takes those glasses off, he's not even there, bro. Talk about it. Talk about when in Rome. This nigga is not who this is not fucking making the band, did he? The nigga running around with Carisha, that's making the band, did he? Nah, bro. So as he goes down that hall, right? Think Mike Rubin White Party. Okay? Think Mike Rubin White Party. And then go all the way back to, think Studio 54, right? When they were turning out Fab Five Freddy and they was turning out Russell and all of them with the coke and whatnot, with the weirdo shit. Studio 54, where niggas had to do their first round of sacrifices and initiations to get into this good old boys club that they call hip hop, or erroneously call it hip hop, because it's not hip hop. The shit that they wound up building, this little world that they built inside of the culture, that's not hip hop. Nobody has identified exactly what that is. Those saunas where Russell used to be in there in full yoga mode, right? What's the nigga from Street Fighter? They be with the long limbs and whatnot. What's my guy's name? Dollism. He was in the fucking sauna and the Dollism pose, butt naked and whatnot, with Harvey Weinstein pulling up. Okay, with Jeff Epstein pulling up. What was the shit that they were going to St. James Island to do? Like, what was the name of that gang? You know what I'm talking about? What's the name of that part? That's not hip hop. So what's that? Okay. What's that? What's that shit behind that door that these niggas be saying that once you go behind that door, there's no coming back? What's that? That's not hip hop. The shit that was behind Africa Bambaata's door and whatnot, when he was turning these little children out, that's not fucking hip hop. Okay. So there's been some things that have been going on, right? But this era right here represented the commercialized, the materialism. But when you go material, right? Because they say you gotta pray for, you gotta do what? You gotta watch for what you pray for, and you gotta be mindful of what you give up for what you want to receive. Because if you want to receive something, you always got to give something up. So there was a time where our people didn't have much, and we would do anything to have something. Then when we started seeing depictions of us in these videos where we had everything, like Benzes, diamonds, champagne, mansions, Versace, designer, gold, diamonds, pearls, they were showing us a life that many of us, we didn't really have an idea or a roadmap on how we was going to live that life. We didn't have a business plan on how we were strategically going to create a startup and make a product and do some market research and then have a rollout with a soft launch, right? And then find funding and whatnot and get loans and begin a crowdfunding. We didn't have those type of roadmaps back in those days when they were showing us opulence. We had to learn through the music and through the rhythm and through our own rhythm how to make that shit a reality. And many of us attempted to do it, and some people fell trying to do it. Some people did not, make it to the finish line in the attempts of doing it. And then some people broke through and they achieved success. You know what I mean? And they were able to emulate and, keep up with the Combs. You feel me? And there's a lot of people in my generation that got absorbed into the music industry. They're in like executive positions now. There's just a lot of people who use this era that I'm speaking of to get themselves into a lot of different places. But if this era was to end, if something were to change, it would have to change with this man right here, because this man will be identified as the architect. So when I see things that are beginning to be revealed about this man, and when I'm seeing that this man may have to face challenges, and his legacy faces the possibility of being forever smeared, because if it's proven that he put the quote unquote hit out on Tupac Amaru Shakur, then there is no more, the P. Diddy, that quote unquote, that reputation, which is all that he only has his name, right? That name, right? That legacy is forever scarred. Rest in peace, Scar. And then there'll be people who will be saying, shit, that's the poetic justice of the whole thing. You feel me? It just goes to show that the universe and the spirit realm and the ancestors don't let nothing fly. And in this day and times that we living in of the judgment, ye shall be judged. And they're going to use individuals, stars, planets, galaxies, right? Influencers, archetypes as the sacrificial lambs to teach more people that you can't get away. You can't get away. Live in a certain type of way and try to clean it up. It's too late. See, my nigga, clean up on aisle 6. You saw his charitable ways. He's trying to get right in the 23rd hour. He woke up one day with Carisha and was like, I want to be a better man. You feel me? But he on TikTok time. So, it's just a telltale sign of the times that we are in. I came forward in the earlier version or the earlier installations of The Great Fall. And we talked about New York when it turned orange out there and the skies turned red. And we even had the conversation about it, I think a show before that. But we brought up the fact that we are currently in what is known as the Kali Yuga. And we were giving people some insight about the times that the Kali Yuga speak of to help alleviate the heart rate and the blood pressure of our students out there who seeing shit go real dark real quick and not understanding the times that they live in. So they start taking shit personal. They out there watching Sexy Red sex tape, thinking, not knowing this is a sign of the times, not being able to not take things personal, just seeing things for what they are. Right? So we talked about NWA for the past 2 weeks, and we were highlighting how, there was a second album that they came out with called Niggas for Life. There are a lot of people in hip hop, not Red Pill, not Know the Ledge, not my audience, not niggas from the East Coast, not New Yorkers. No, rap fans, people who fuck with rap, like the fans. We took offense to that shit. We took offense to the misogyny. We took offense to the overtly hatred, the energy that they was giving to women. We was taking offense to shit like that. Like that's what we was not feeling. We was taking offense to the coonery. So hoes with an attitude. We got niggas with attitudes. Then we got hoes with attitude, right? Was a sexed up West Coast trio armed with raunchy raps who formed as an answer to NWA. The late Eazy-E would eventually sign a Compton group, Jazz, Diva, and Baby Girl, with Goldie joining later. Oh, he signed on the Ruthless Records. Okay. So hoes with an attitude, right, is the foundation, and that's the seed. Okay. Because these ain't the seeds of Salt and Pepper. These ain't the seeds of Queen Latifah. Not Suki in them. These come out of this seed, hoes with attitudes, who was signed with the same machine, under the same spell, probably locked into the same contract and conjured up by the same demons who worked on the NWA motherfucking corpus. Right? You got hoes with attitudes and bitches with problems. Shout out to them. Okay? The Kali Yuga, also known as the Age of Kali, is a concept in Hindu cosmology. It refers to the last of the 4 stages, or yugas, that the world goes through as part of the cycle of yugas described in the Indian scriptures. The 4 yugas are Satya Yuga, the age of truth, Tetra Yuga, the Dvapara Yuga, and the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and ignorance. Kali Yuga is considered the darkest and most degenerate age, characterized by strife, discord, quarrel, and contention. The duration of the Kali Yuga is subject to various interpretations, and different texts provide different lengths. The most common interpretation is that the Kali Yuga lasts 432,000 years. According to Surya Siddhanta, an ancient Indian astronomical text, the Kali Yuga began at midnight on the 18th of February, 3102 BCE, in a proleptic Julian calendar, or on the 23rd of January, 3102, in a proleptic Gregorian calendar. This is also considered the time when Lord Krishna left the world. We are currently believed to be living in the Kali Yuga. The end of the Kali Yuga is associated with the return of Lord Vishnu in his last avatar, Kalki, who is expected to establish righteousness and harmony, marking the start of a new cycle of yugas with the Satya Yuga. It's important, yeah. So, Sexy Red, she went viral this week, y'all. No, not for that. For this. She became one of the latest in the quote unquote rap industry who have become politicized, right? So she's a pro-Trumper. Okay. So let me show you how this works. Show you how this works because it's all a spell in the Kali Yuga. When we play by the rules, we got to play by the rules of the Kali Yuga so we can see this thing the right way and we start interpreting a lot better than looking at it through a Christian lens or through a conscious lens or through a fake sanitized lens, because that's not the lens that we look at these things through. I just shared with you that we in the Kali Yuga. We're not doing speculation. I'm giving you the receipts, right? Take a screenshot of that, study it and whatnot, go deeper into it, but we are in the Kali Yuga, okay? So these are Kali Yuga figures, okay? They're placeholders. When we go back into the history, we're able to see how far into the Yuga we are based off of artists like this, okay? So she gets introduced because this video probably will go more viral in the white world. There's white people like, who the hell is a sexy red? Like, what's sexy? I like that girl if she likes Trump. Yeah, that's my girl. Huh. Yeah, yeah. You know, they be botchering everything. Secret red. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's my girl over there. Yeah. Yeah. Sex in red. Yeah, yeah, that's my girl. Yeah. I fuck with her. Yeah, yeah. She does that thing, Trump Town. So she gets acknowledged, right, by the quote unquote what do they call that? Household name type shit, right? So her searches are up as a result of that. She's going viral. You know, she's a Trump supporter. People is all into her. They checking her out. You know what I mean? You know, and also this girl right here, Scarlett, she represents that Kali Yuga energy that I started talking about earlier in the beginning of the summer. I was tapping into her energy, and I was like, with the, I was like, yeah, she got that segment energy, that Kali Yuga energy. You know, it's the telltale signs of what to expect, especially with the sun activity and whatnot. You know, I'm not offended by this activity. I know what I'm seeing. You feel me? I'm cool with it. I'm even on some Scorpion shit. I'm able to channel some of that rage and some of that energy, that segment. You know, I'm not too mad at it because, you know, it is what it is. It's been called to be here. So she went viral, Sexy Red, with the white folk and whatnot, right? So we'll get to her in a minute. So this is the album that I was referring to, right? This is when they went dark, right? This is NWA's Anakin album. This is when they went dark. This is when they went over to the dark side. This is when the fucking Jerry Heller is the emperor with the wrinkled face. Jerry Heller is the emperor, and he made them go dark because the album before this was not like this. This shit was really trash, especially on black women. It trashed them. I know that they don't treat a lot of women, they're not known for treating a lot of women compassionately in areas where it's heavy in the gang activity and whatnot. I would say the albums like this even step that shit up. The violence against women, the disrespect, you know what I mean? The objectification, you know what I mean? The callousness, you know, all of that shit got exasperated by the fundings of billions of dollars and millions of dollars by shareholders and multi-billion-dollar corporations like Sony and Universal. They knew what they were doing. They were funding dysfunction. They were funding civil wars. They were funding, you know what I'm saying? All of the things that were going on. They were funding beefs. You know, they were funding criminology, but they were not funding enlightenment. They were not funding the fun. They didn't want to fund the fun. They only wanted to fund the horror. And I would say that the pivot around that time is, and they started moving from this album forward, they started dumping billions of dollars into the exploitation machine. Let's just talk in terms of Tyrone. This is when the Tyrone shit, they clone Tyrone shit happened. That's why Tyrone is on the West Coast on his NWA shit, stuck in that time period, because that's when they started funding all of that type of operations that they show you in the Tyrone movie, why certain people look like caricatures and they stuck in certain type of energy. So look, bitches with attitudes, and according to various Hindu scriptures, there are several signs and characteristics that are said to indicate the end of the Kali Yuga. However, thank you for the Cash App too, the people sending the Cash App. However, interpretations can vary greatly. Some of the commonly cited signs include degradation of human values. People are expected to become more selfish, materialistic, and dishonest. Righteousness and virtuous behavior may decline, and falsehood and corruption may become commonplace. You ever heard of that? Social unrest and violence. There may be an increase in conflicts, wars, and social unrest. Law and order may break down, leading to widespread violence and injustice. Degradation of the environment. The natural world may become degraded and polluted. There may be unusual climatic changes and natural disasters. Are y'all with me? This was written, remember, we're talking about the Kali Yuga. So we're not talking about New Age. We're not talking about white people. We're not talking about mumbo jumbo. We're talking about information that have been available for a very, very long time, and not in this community. This is not for black people. This is not in the black community. This is not in the church. This is not in the hotel. You know what I mean? This is the Kali Yuga. So what do they know? What did they know? They didn't just write this. What did they know that you don't know? You got to ask yourself that. So if there's people that are predicting the times that you exist in, or the timeline that you exist in, right? And they can identify it. They're not predicting it. They're identifying it. They're letting you know that this information. If we know about, if this describes the time, if this describes your timeline, sign right here and start and get this information about the Kali Yuga, so you can navigate through this matrix, or through this world, or through this dimension, or through this metaverse, or through this multiverse. So breakdown of societal structures, traditional social structures, and institutions may break down. The family unit may become less important, and people may move away from religious and spiritual practices. As people drop into spiritual practices these days, forget about walking away from the church. You got people hanging up their goddamn beads and whatnot. Increased suffering and disease. There may be an increase in mental and physical disease and suffering. Lifespans may decrease and health problems may increase. Now you know the mental health of the people around the goddamn world via the internet. Everything, everywhere, all at once, via being able to see the whole world from your phone. Yeah, the people have lost their fucking minds. The gods must be crazy. Appearance of Kalki, the end of the Kali Yuga, right? Because remember, this is the end of the Kali Yuga. This is nothing to be afraid of. This is nothing to be sad about. This is nothing to go to sleep. This is actually motherfuckers that was dancing on the top of the buildings when the towers fell. This is that shit. This is still going outside and turning up and standing on couches, even though shit going down. That's what this is, because you're celebrating that we made it to the end, because this is the motherfucking time that we're in. So we're at the end of the Kali Yuga. You understand? It's all perspective. You either see the glass half full or half empty. But I just read all of this. But if we were listening, if we pay attention to what we were saying, is that I'm giving you a telltale sign that we're at the end of the cycle. So that's why we're in the quantum quickening and we say speed the shit up. We do Thanos snaps because it is what it is. It's the Kali Yuga. It's going to do what it do, baby. Right? And we got to get to the next level that we got to get to. So the end of the Kali Yuga is also associated with the appearance of Kalki, the 10th and final avatar of Vishnu, who is expected to bring an end to the Kali Yuga and to usher in a new cycle of yugas with the Satya Yuga. Okay? So all of this is written. This is all written. This is Sekhmet energy. This is Kali Yuga energy. This is Kali. Kali has 50 heads of skulls around her neck. Right? 50 skulls around her neck. This is all a cycle. It has to go through its cycle. It's uncomfortable to watch, and people take shit personal, but it is what it is. You feel me? Get through it and get over it. So her sex tape leaked. I came on Brother Rich's channel last week and I said this. I was going to cue it up so I could play it so y'all could hear it. I said specifically, Sexy Red and them are a new form of artists where voyeurism is the new quote unquote sticky, it's the new viral, it's the new level that they're going to, right? Voyeurism, being able to be introduced to people's private life. That's why OnlyFans and other voyeurisms or voyeuristic quote unquote passion economy gigs and voyeuristic endeavors are very quote unquote lucrative, like the quote unquote yes, like that shit, like the NPC. That's voyeurism. Somebody is being paid to do what? To allow people to look at them, ridicule, or quote unquote be in character. You may call somebody might call it ridiculing, but to them, they're just role playing it. They're in their bag. Whatever it is, if it's a mental disorder, they've monetized all that. So I was like, the next thing that's gonna come is a girl rapping, and you know how they be doing the mic and they be they be freestyling and the mic is hanging down. She gonna be doing that to a glizzy. You feel me? And I'm not talking about Nathan's either. You know what I'm talking about? Like voyeurism. Voyeurism. And she leaked that sex tape on purpose. She's going viral amongst this European crowd of degenerates, right? The Trumpers are degenerates. They're on Pornhub. They fetish these quote unquote ghetto gagger, hood guzzlers and whatnot. She gave them everything that they wanted and then some. She gave them a Donald Trump endorsement. Then she gave them a sloppy toppy sex tape, right? Then she gave them a sex tape. So it's never gonna hurt a career, like Ebro said. Sad that Sexy is hurt by the sex tape leak, but it's actually on brand based on the music. Still terrible though. And people beat him up because rightfully so, you know, old man Ebro is a lame. Right? But he was not that far off from his assumption. that the sex tape is on brand. It's not off brand. It doesn't hurt her. It only helps her. It's not off brand. It's in alignment with the fuck she says that she's in. What I'm trying to explain to people and what I said on Brother Rich's show is this is the new reality show. This is the new music video. This is the new rollout campaign. This is the new go viral. And I heard the tape was horrible in terms of, it just, the people wasn't, they wasn't, they had a lot of things to say. I don't know, man. God damn it. Child, word on the curb. Sexy Red done showed the whole world how dirty her coochie box is, and the people are puking. I didn't write this. I'm just reading this. You understand? I'm reading this. I'm just telling you what the bloggers is blogging. Sexy Red is no stranger to calling herself the hood hottest princess, but this new sex tape is a hood hot mess and a complete disaster, and the doctors ain't got a prescription to help us kill this vision. Now, we don't know why Sexy Red decided to do this. It may be because in a recent podcast, she mentioned feeling a bit down when discussing male rappers in the industry who weren't showing any interest in her. But it may be because Sexy Red talks too much and told people a while back that she had a sexually transmitted disease that actually took a long time to cure. Child. Yes, we have the video, and we must warn you that the content is extremely graphic and disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised, and you may want to have a trash can nearby. It seems like the dude busted in Sexy Red and threw her on the floor and off to the next trick, and ho he go. Right now, listen. People will be like, damn, Red, you ain't have to get all graphic and whatnot and tell us about Sexy Red. Like, what that got to do with anything? I'll let you know what it has to do, right? And once again, because Rich asked a question about why do people always talk about these artists, after they start popping off and whatnot. Well, I'm a reporter, and my job as a reporter is to inform both parents. I'm a parent and a reporter, and I'm also somebody who is a connoisseur of my culture. So I'm always highlighting, and I'm always putting in a watchful eye on, and I'm always observing, and I'm always giving people certain names to look out for, right? And for some reason, this name right here that I started talking about on this platform over the past few months, she's garnered the attention of a lot of young people, right? A lot of young people. So when we highlight some of these things, we're helping parents understand that your young children are sitting around watching a Sexy Red porn tape. Because when I was in my teenager years, none of Little Kim didn't have a sex tape. Foxy Brown didn't have a sex tape. Salt and Pepper didn't have a sex tape. There was no sex tapes. There was a lot of women rapping and whatnot, but we didn't see they juice boxes and whatnot. There's a few like maybe Eve and whatnot, but nothing that stands out like a Kim Kardashian. Now that was a sex tape, right? So we didn't even have shit like that coming up. But I know that if any sex tape came out from any one of those artists that we was watching and following, everybody's watching it. So everything is available now. They had her sex tape. I Googled the sex tape and the shit was all over the internet. Like Google had it just blocked out. It wasn't, they're not taking it down. So, and from what I saw, right? You see the pits of lava and whatnot, right? We want, remember, if you're gonna watch a sacred act, if you're gonna indulge in voyeurism, because remember, there's your public face, there's your private face, then there's your secret face. People are paying top dollars to be introduced into your private life, to see your private face. They're even paying topper dollar to see your secret face. That's fetishing. That's the fetish shit. What people fetish, that's their secret face that nobody gets to know about. But their private shit is their sexual proclivities. You like to get spanked. You feel me? You in some, you know what I mean? Like, that's your private shit. Like, what do you look like fornicating? Because people want to know how you fight, how you fornicate, and there's a other F. And I always talk about that. And that's the age that we live in, the voyeurism. We live in the Truman Show era. So what you're seeing, you might think that it's a negative, but it's a program. It's priming the younger generations who don't have the same kind of hangups about exhibitionism and showing off and fucking on camera and taping that shit and them leaking their sex tape too. Okay? Because that might even become a trend where the thoughts is like, oh nah, we gonna leak our sex tapes too. My neck was way better than hers. You know what I mean? If she pop off because of that shit, then wait till you get a load of my OnlyFans, you know. But it's already here, you know. So this is the Kali Yuga. This is the Kali Yuga. Like, niggas got sex tapes leaking and whatnot. Your favorite rappers, like the top rappers, got sex tapes leaking, and it, you know, and it's a funky sex tape. Yeah, if the Kali Yuga was a sex tape, it's that sexy red shit that's out there. How about that? How about that? You know, but it's almost over, y'all. It's almost over, y'all. This represents a frequency. Once again, these architects. R. Kelly was an architect of a certain sound, of a certain energy, of a certain frequency, right? Him being locked up and taken down and taken off of his quote unquote pedestal, taken off of his throne, dethroned, right? Had an effect on his catalog, has an effect on his music, okay? He's one of the fallen, right? He's one of the fallen. They have put so many people in the shallow graves. Young Thug, Tory Lanez. So many people are being put in that shallow grave, right? Suge, not like, look how many rappers, look how many artists and whatnot are in purgatory as I speak to you, right? Look how many of them are locked up. That has to tell you something about the level of failure that this culture has, quote unquote, reached in its 50-year mark. It's more in a negative, right? The balance or the currency of it, if the energy of hip hop were to be represented as a bank statement, it's negative. Because there's more artists losing than they are winning. There's more people still struggling than they are that figured it out. How is it that you got legacy artists that they could admit, yo, I ain't figured this shit out yet, or I just figured it out? What the fuck is that about? Like, what's that figure out part? Like, please, you feel me? Is this shit like is it like a Rubik's Cube or something? Is this shit Tetris? Like, what is so hard that's taking y'all so long to figure out? Because we supposed to be in a different place if this 50 years of culture is what it's supposed to be. Like, we supposed to be winning. I watched a podcast of a dude, a designer by the name, the designer behind Denim Tears, right? Denim Tears is the it's the new designer line that all of the rappers be wearing with the cotton and shit going in a circle. And he was talking about the racism over at Supreme t-shirts, right? Now, this is a t-shirt line that has made almost $1 billion off of streetwear culture, hip-hop culture, and people, young, kids from the hood and whatnot who probably couldn't even afford those tickets. And still to this day, he went there saying that he was trying to put some provocative black art on their t-shirts. These are the same clothing line that do clothing campaign for drill rappers. They do clothing campaigns for all of the quote unquote undesirables and the degenerates of our culture. But when it comes time to put on for the culture and put something like a Malcolm or a Martin or an Elijah or a Noble or any type of thing that shines a light, these businesses and these brands, they start pussyfooting and coming up with excuses and whatnot. But they're there with marketing dollars when it's dysfunction. But it's the minute it's the broken pillar that we try to repair, which is consciousness, which is the light, which is information, right? Which is culture and whatnot. The minute they try to repair that, they run. They run from that. No, the brother from Denim Tears, he's not a drill rapper. He's a black designer. He used to work with Virgil and everything. He goes way back. His company is called Denim Tears, right? But he got picked up to be he got picked up by Supreme to be their creative director. The first time they did that for anyone, not just a black man, but for anyone. And he had to quit, and he's going on podcasts to expose them, to say, yo, Supreme, that whole staff is mayonnaise, and they posers, right? Don't rate them the way that you do. Don't make them a staple in the culture, because he's identifying that there's vultures amongst us. We have to begin to start cleaning house. Definitely going into the next 50 years of hip hop, this whole shit needs to be swept and cleaned. Tremaine Emory is his name, right? Tremaine Emory is his name. I highly suggest that you go and watch that podcast that he did with what's my dude? He be doing skateboard, came out in the mid 90s as a skateboard brand. Yeah. I know, But now they more than that. They a lot more than that. You feel me? They a lot more than that. And a lot of our artists help to get them lit and whatnot. And they don't give back. Boris is in the building. This is a world-renowned artist right here who knows about that scene. So I don't want to put nobody on blast and whatnot. But that conversation about the way that they feast off of the culture and just, Torre interviewed him. He was interviewed by Torre. You feel me? And shout out to Torre. Thank you for the Cash App. Everybody sending the Cash App. I appreciate y'all. Respect. I'm talking about leaving tips at the table when you getting up. You know what I mean? Shout out to my good brother Boris. I want to have you on the show one day, King, so I could showcase your artwork and we can have some interesting, intelligent conversations about black art and black artists. You know what I mean? But these companies, they don't deserve to prosper off of our energy, off of our blood, sweat, and tears, off of our creativeness. We don't have to be quote unquote valued because a company wanted. We need to we need to make our own valuation increase by creating our own brands and rewarding each other with multi-million-dollar contracts and increasing the valuation of our own circles and controlling our valuation. I'll be damned if I hop into the art world and allow some Peckerwoods from the art gallery to control my valuation like I'm some fucking racehorse or something. You know, I ain't doing that. We need to start disrupting a lot of these quote unquote what you call it. We need to start disrupting a lot of these brands that don't do nothing for us. You know? Yeah. So that there's an old contingency of the rap game who basically, you know, it's hard to say that they were all asleep. It's impossible because, like I said, yeah, Barriers New York is a new, yeah, they a wave right there. I would support them. Barriers New York is fire. There's another one I think called Mental Leverage, of course. Athletics, Kings County, you know, that's on the way back. We about to smash this shit. Blue Pill, he got his line as well. You know what I mean? So we it's time to cook. AA got the drip, you know what I mean? Like, look, my dude Key, right? Key Studios. Look at that. Shout out to LA. You know what I mean? All of this black owned. We got too many of our own right now. All of this black owned. We don't need nobody. We need production. We need overseas. We need import export links. You know what I'm talking about? We need mercantile links. We need designers on deck. You know what I'm talking about? Because we got the material, we got the production, we got a lot of stuff. We're $1 billion culture. I'm not going into the next 50 and we got to suffer. Everybody deserves their own quote unquote, you know, they deserve their own opportunities, but they deserve their own bags, you know. But yeah, it is, man. It's going up. It's definitely going up. Let me go ahead and get a word from my sponsor. Let's get a word from my sponsor. And shout out to everybody in the building. You feel me? Shout out to everybody in the building. Let's go ahead and get a word from my sponsors and we're going to get back to it.
Healthy so you can get wealthy with True Health Love. We got everything that you need in terms of getting your body right for the fall, for the summer, just everyday wellness. We got herbal products. We got Sabi inspired meal preps. We got juice preps. And we also have our soul food takeout spot in Southern California. That's right. Alkaline soul food in Southern California. Come on down. It's nutritious and delicious. Get healthy so you can get wealthy. TrueHealthLove.com. Peace.
My name is Jarrell Shaw, aka Quality, spelled differently but meaning the same. I'm here to promote my book, Quality Words to Self, to help a person understand the life that they have inside of them, the life around them, the life they come in contact with. The poetry book of the decade, Quality Words to Self, because it's all about quality over quantity, and every single one of us and everything has a certain quality within us that makes it and us what it is, right? So please purchase Quality Words to Self, available at Amazon, Ex Libris, and Barnes & Nobles. With all further ado, tap in.
No cap. No cap.
In 2005, and I was being heavily influenced by the culture that I was seeing on 125th Street. I was beginning to have a second cultural awakening. I was also immersed into consciousness. So as I was learning more about myself, I decided that I wanted to look like how I was thinking. All of these things began to activate like ancestral DNA. I began to have visions and dreams. So the vision that I had was a group of us walking down the street with King Tut on our chest. Same way that we would walk 100 deep with the big horse, Ralph Lauren, the cookies, you know, the Silk Crest, you know what I mean, the Ski Man, the Suicide. We would rock all of these iconic polo pieces and Ralph Lauren couture. So I'm like, what if we had the same thing, but it was images and motifs of our ancestors?
Hey yo, we got it going on. I bring my together, we transform and become the Voltron. Yeah, we hit a right, all our wrong. Hey yo, we got it going on.
Yes, indeed. The show is being sponsored by Patreon. All right. We have a 4-week course with master teacher Ross Ben, a 4-week master class called A Pivot in Time, This brother is going in on the Dogon mysteries, the star nations, the quantum quickening, and economic alchemy. Join us every single Wednesday, all right, at 8 p.m. Okay. And on every Sunday, join Brother Red Pill for 40 AIs and a mule, a 4-week masterclass. Introduction. We going over the AI toolboxes. We applying these tools and we teaching you how to enterprise utilizing these tools. A lot of information, a lot of PDFs, a lot of homework. We got quizzes and whatnot, but you will be certified. We have all of the pre-recorded classes that they'll be available for replay. So the link is in the bio. Tap into the Patreon and go and sign up for the TH3RD membership and join us over there, y'all. All right, we lit. So with that being said, let me go into the chat. If there's any questions from the chat, go ahead and ask them. If there's any questions from the chat, please ask them. And if not, we will go ahead and close it out with the Red Opals video. Make sure y'all spread that video, you know what I'm saying? Get the numbers up and whatnot. You know, we don't have click farms and whatnot. We depend on the people to make the video do what it's supposed to do. So, you know, and also I want to see people doing TikToks where they dancing to that. Make that a dance. Make that the Red Opals. Get sturdy to it. You feel me? Get sturdy to it. You feel me? So yeah, we bringing the art back. You know what I mean? We are bringing the art back. Pay more attention. We are bringing the art back. We got the artwork, the framed artwork. Oh, you can't see that. It's getting blocked out by the damn green screen. Okay. But we got the artwork, y'all. The music, the art, the clothes. We getting on the road. Facts is coming too. Facts 24. Look out for that. That book is coming. Yeah. So no more questions. Good. That's good. That means we did our job. As you know, the great fall. I'm gonna end it on this epilogue, and we'll make predictions and whatnot, pillar prophecies. Once again, for my disclaimer, I wish no man, right? I wish no man and no woman bad, unless you my op and whatnot. And if you my op, I don't even speak on you. But what I do wish is I wish that the veils continue to be lifted, and I wish that the quote unquote, you know, the ones who deserve justice, right? The ones who would deserve justice, I wish that they continue to receive it. So the spirit of Afeni Shakur, the spirit of Matulu Shakur, the spirit of Tupac Umaru Shakur, those spirits together, in my humble opinion, from a spiritual perspective, right, is more powerful than their enemies. And always know that when you separate someone from the source of their power, you always have to be prepared and ready for when they return to that source, because everybody does have a time and it will eventually happen. So when Matulu went back to the essence, right? Because keep in mind, the energy of Tupac came through the documentary. Okay. The Resurrection, that was one of the best documentaries we've seen, done by the twins, the Hughes brothers and whatnot. And the energy of Pac was back right there. And then Matulu going back into the essence. But Matulu just coming home was powerful in and of itself. That's the closing of that chapter. So once again, this is the beginning of something. And that whole Pac thing is, as we can see, it has so many components to it. It's so intricate. The shit is layered. You know, his tentacles still reach 27 years later, right? You know, I wish his spirit and his legacy and all of that, he get the justice that he deserves. Because what was done to him, and how he was done, yeah. What was done to Big and how he was done, you know? That energy, that dark cloud, right? That contagion, right? That venom, that poison, that cipher in the matrix, right? If that's the case, if my man has blood on his hands for the Twin Towers, he was the plane that brought them both down. If it was the Scorpio doing scorpionic shit, you know? Because there's a story about Pac wanting to leave Death Row and take his masters with him after he fired Reggie White and David Allen, the lawyer. Then there's also a story about a handgun that was taken at the House of Blues from one of the Pac's group. I believe it was Fatal. That gun, him being arrested as a result of having that gun trying to get in the club, that gun winding up in Las Vegas PD, Reggie White getting the call to go to pick up that gun being used as the gun that kills Tupac, and then that gun mysteriously being dropped in Orlando Anderson's family's backyard. Right? That's the gun. This the smoking gun that ties Reggie White or the or LAPD or these crooked cops. I don't want to talk too much about it. But as this story evolves, just listen for those names and listen for that story about the gun and the mystery of the gun. Right? Doesn't make any sense. They handed it to a policeman and it becomes the murder weapon. And the way that the murder weapon is even found, when you read the story, is cockamamie. So there's a lot of fall guys falling, and there's a lot of people that are going to blame a lot of things on people who are no longer here. We said it before and we'll say it again. This shit is a lie. Don't believe it. It's all a game. If you're risking your life and you put it all on the line and whatnot, and you're willing to throw it all away for the illusion that keeps getting pointed out for you to you, then you're responsible for those choices. Nigga, you've been warned. You've been warned. Nigga, Nancy Reagan was warning you niggas, telling you, just say no. You don't have to say yes. You don't have to come outside. You don't have to play this game, nigga. You don't have to grow your fangs, but you decided to. And here we are. So we can't point fingers. Nobody made anybody sell any drugs. Nobody made anybody pull any triggers. Nobody made anybody tougher. Nobody made anybody want to be criminals. Nobody did that. Everybody made a conscious decision and a choice to walk down that motherfucking path. We all knew what the consequences was. We were elated to have soundtracks, nigga. Don't get it fucked up. We were flabbergasted that NWA took the time out to write some shit for us as we walked down this motherfucking path into gangbanging and shit through wax. Nigga, we were MC Gusto. Everybody who wasn't a motherfucking Blood and Crip. We was MC Gusto because we were living vicariously through Yo MTV Raps and the fucking West Coast rappers. Blue Pill, did you succeed with the Jerry Curls when you try to go full Easy E? I think the nigga went full. I think he did a full immersive transformation because you know how Scorpios are. Niggas will straight clone a nigga and all of that. Niggas was living out their whole West Coast life in New York. So it wasn't like it was a failed operation, right? We were underneath that spell. It fed our dark side. Niggas had, we've been quote unquote exercising them demons from certain time periods and from certain, just music catalogs for a very long time, to be honest with you. But we'll continue the conversation because one thing's for certain, two things for sure. This shit ain't over. It ain't finished falling. We just hitting you at intervals. It's just getting started. You know what I'm talking about? There's some other things that's falling that we could have got into, but this is enough. This is enough. It's the Kali Yuga. Let it. Blue said lie. I'm fucking with you. Nah, but Blue is into easy. He wasn't full. He didn't go fully Compton on us. He didn't go fully Gusto on us. But he did move to the West Coast. I know he went on a fact-finding mission later on in life. That's the fact. I know that nigga went on a fact. He was on his Trey. He was moving around like Trey and Boys in the Hood. He went out there looking for Doughboy and them niggas. I'll tell you that much. But like I said, when I went to the West Coast, kudos to y'all city, man. Y'all have a beautiful culture, a beautiful city, and I wish it wasn't warfare in your city because there's so much money to make. There's so much things to do. There's so many bridges you could build, but you can't build nothing when you at war with your next man, bro. It's impossible. We got to have this conversation. We have to have a public debate. We have to have a town hall meeting. We have to come to terms with some things because as you can see, and you don't need me to keep pointing it out, all of these statues are falling. If there's earthquakes in Morocco and whatnot, nigga, shit is falling. If there's floods and whatnot, shit is drowning. If there's fires in Hawaii, shit is burning up. It's being incinerated. The Great Reset. Right before your very own eyes. We could blame it on CERN. We could blame it on motherfucking the Philadelphia experiment. We could blame it on a lot of things. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. Nigga, they're playing with the timelines. We are in some type of multiverse, simulation. So hold on. Program your future. Program your future. Create your reality. Know that you exist right now in the same type of juncture that when hip hop was in its inception in 83. You in a very, 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 very advantageous time. So with that being said, I'm out. You know what I mean? Y'all stay dangerous. Hit the Cash App. You know what I'm talking about? Show some love. Sign up to the Patreon. Become a member. Become a student. Become a KT alien. You know what I'm talking about? Become part of this because the Patreon, we turning that into family over there. That's tribe. You know what I mean? Like we on our tribe. We building over there. That's like a whole city, my genius. You know what I'm talking about? That's a whole city right there. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on over there. Real quick, let me bring y'all over there. Let y'all just see what we doing. Here we go. Boom. These are the memberships. All right. You come in at $5, right? I think next month we're gonna turn that into 444. And then our top is the Citrine. You know what I'm saying? And we got people that are lifetime members. They bought the top membership for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? And then we got people who come in on a lower level so they could just come and get information. So this right here is my quiz, right? For my first class, 40 AIs and a mule, right? So we actually have homework. I'm talking about we actually got homework. So this is the homework that we had when they downloaded this 12 questions and whatnot. You know, gotta learn. People like to take tests, so we like to give them. You know what I'm saying? So every day on this page, you get loaded up with links. You get loaded up. This is what is known as a repository of information that you can't find on places like Instagram or Twitter or even LinkedIn and whatnot because it's real noisy in those places. So a lot of this information is consolidated. Links for new tools and whatnot, news stories, research, PDFs, clips from the internet that have things, live links and whatnot, YouTube videos. Like we really give it up. All things technology, all things futuristic. But we also have classes like this, a pivot in time with Ross Ben. Let me take you up to our collections. All right, here's our collections where we have all of our classes that we've done with all of our master classes, with all of our master teachers. It's all right here in the collection. So you don't got to look for it. It's all placed right here for you. So you could basically binge. You could do your bingington right there. And then we also have the shop where we have all of our digital assets. This right here is a lot of my books and my writings and whatnot. So, enjoy. You know what I mean? Enjoy. That's for the family that's tapped in to the whole, into the brand for real. You're not just watching, you're not just tapping in. You a member, you a KT alien, you part of this movement. You want to see this thing grow. And you want to benefit off of being exclusive and having exclusive lives, exclusive merch, exclusive artwork, all of the things that come into Patreon. So yeah, shout out to Blue Pill. Look out for the new music project that's coming by the end of this month in Scorpio season. Am I still writing art and creating? That's what you ask. Why, yes. Yes, I am. Why, yes, I am. I'll show you this right here. I've been selling these like crack in the 80s right here. I've been selling this artwork ever since I started putting my artwork in frames. Them shit's growing wings. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, I'm definitely doing this art thing. That's why I've been telling my audience over the past month or so that is the direction that I'm definitely going in. So if you see me completely immerse myself, I'm not Pablo Picasso, I'm Felipe Picasso. That's my art name. I'm out of here, y'all. Red Pillar featuring everybody in the KTL family, featuring introducing Red Opals. Love and light, y'all. Peace. Oh, y'all wasn't hearing that, right? Let me go ahead and re-upload that bad boy. Thing too hot right there. Too hot. It's like, man. But yeah, love and light, y'all. I see y'all.
I come down into the real world from the clouds. I exist in the clouds. Now they see me out the country. It's Red Bill. He's real. He came down from the clouds. Right.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, coconut bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour of the underworld, popping the mentor. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Moorish the fashion, horse we was smashing, kicking the door. Wave on 4-4s, it was blasting, mother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the benches, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red is the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning, flooded the brightling. The hunger was biting, biting.
Do not allow anything to take you off of your square. It's the same thing like what we see right here. Yeah, it's cloudy, yeah, it's misty, but it ain't gonna stay like that forever.